fellow readers. In this video, I'm going to be talking about I Swear I Won't Bother You Again. This is a manga that is based on a light novel. The story is by Reina Soratani and the art is by Haru Harukawa, which that name sounds so familiar, and I was like, is this an illustrator of another work that I own, but I couldn't find any, so I don't know. It just sounds really familiar to me. So I bought the manga versions, not the light novel versions, at least as of yet. Maybe I'll venture into the light novel. But for now, let's talk about the graphic novel manga. So this series, I didn't think I was going to like. I was like, oh no, not another manga based on a light novel, blah, blah, blah. But I was intrigued by the story. So this story follows the lovely Violet here. And at the start of Volume 1, she is actually imprisoned. She has been imprisoned for attempting to kill her sister, which is like, whew. But she has a lovely half-sister, Mary June, who seems to have come in and just gotten all of the good stuff. Like everything good happens to Mary June. And so for Violet, who has worked so hard to gain any sort of recognition, she gets like filled with all of this jealousy. However, that's sort of not the main story, because what happens at the start of this volume, she's been imprisoned and she's going to be executed. However, right before she's executed, she, if I'm remembering correctly, is given a drink, and then suddenly when she wakes up, she's back in time. And she's sort of given a second chance to get everything right. And we start to not only see what might have driven her to the low point that she was at that brought her to almost kill her sister, but we see her trying to redeem herself and her life so that it doesn't get to that point. So we see her trying to be kinder to her sister and I think appreciate more the relationships that are in her life. And I was swept up by it. So essentially Violet, when we follow her back, it's like right when she gets to meet Mary June. And I don't fault either girls for like the whole issues that kind of occurs between the two. It is hard for Violet because her parents weren't really in a loving marriage. Like her mother was very devoted to the father and was more in love with or obsessed with the father. But her father was in love with somebody else who just so happened to be Mary June's mother. And so in the way of those things, Mary June is only a little bit younger than Violet. So for Violet to see and know that, it's very hard. She had to see the struggles that her mother went through, loving this guy that didn't love her back. And then the moment that she dies, her father brings this new woman in who he's been having an affair with for years, and they have a daughter together, and the father spoils and dotes on the daughter. And meanwhile, Violet kind of scrapes for his affection. The dad is very dismissive of her, and so it is easy to suddenly see like why she would get that jealousy that sort of led to these irrational decisions, on top of her family life being kind of a mess. She's been at this very exclusive school for the more wealthy nobles, and there is I believe he is a prince. There's the prince that goes there, and you know, in the way of things, he's the handsome prince, and Violet, it was like her mission to get him to recognize her and become espoused. She wanted to marry the prince, and she worked very hard to try to get his attention. but it worked in the opposite. The prince was very turned off by how obsessive Violet was. And in the past, when Mary June came into the school, the prince saw her as like refreshing. He like came to her rescue, and the two of them fell in love. So in the past, that is another thing that just drove Violet crazy. It's like literally everything that she wanted, Mary June could just so easily come in and obtain, and it just so upset her. However, we do learn very quickly that she wasn't alone in that past, and that maybe if she had talked more, like maybe she could have snapped out of it a little bit more. She does have a friend who is male, and now I'm spacing on his name, but who just so happened, or just so happens to be, if I'm remembering correctly, the illegitimate son of the prince, not the prince, the prince's father, the king, I believe. Am I crazy? I'm trying to get like the character thing. So yeah, Yulan. Okay, wait. Not the prince. He is, I believe, an illegitimate son, but is it of the prime minister? I'm a little bit confused. But anyway, he kind of knows how it is for like Mary June, but he is Violet's childhood friend and like a very good friend. This is the prince over here. This is Yulan. Now, I thought though that they were brothers. So now I'm like getting confused, and I kind of want to reread it. And then we have some other guys that are around. I don't know if this is going to become harem-esque or if they're just around. But yeah, I mean, essentially, really, I like the characters. The artwork for this is gorgeous. It's just done in the light, soft shoujo kind of style that I love. I love the covers. So what's interesting, I just noticed this too, is that this is more I don't think it's I can't remember my words. This is raised. This is just flat and regular. But anyway, what's interesting is as the story progresses and we see Violet trying to kind of avoid getting in the way of Mary June and Mary June's potential happiness, because she will not, she won't go that dark route again. She's not going to try to kill her sister. But as she sets out to do that, and interestingly enough, like she's kind of determined that she's going to, as soon as possible, leave and go into a convent and like become a nun. That becomes her goal, so that she can just be away from everyone. She can remove herself so that nothing bad will happen. And once she decides that, there's a whole changeover in how things happen. So one, like she ends up coming to the defense of Mary June from some of the catty noble girls that are around. And the prince, who at first was like going to scold Violet and think that she was causing an argument at this party, he gets scolded himself for being that way by Yulan. And that whole incident sort of starts to get him to see Violet differently. Once they get to school, he starts wondering things like, why isn't Violet coming to find him and like bother him every day at lunch? And he starts seeing her acting kind. And so there is this setup that starts happening that the prince might be now in this version of the story kind of forming an attachment on Violet. However, there is also this love triangle with that because her childhood friend, Yulan, I believe has feelings for her, and I can't remember if he expresses it directly to her. But so now there's kind of a little bit of tension there. I only have the first 2 volumes, so I don't have beyond that. But it is an interesting setup, and I like it. I don't know what's going to happen with Mary June. She does seem a nice, light character. Like, she hasn't done anything malicious. She does want to build that relationship with her sister. And I think it'll be sweet if they do. I have no idea what's going to happen or how this is all going to wrap up or who will end up with who. But I'm liking the journey, and I like the soft artwork. It's a soft fantasy series. Yeah, I can't complain, but I can recommend it. I do think it's really good. When I read the manga like this from light novels that I enjoy, I do almost want to try reading the story. I don't know whether or not that'll be the case. I might. But if it ends up that the story is like very similar, then I don't know. Like, I don't want to reread the same thing. If there's enough differences, I'd be willing to give it a try. Or if the light novel has progressed way beyond where the manga is, I might, just so I know what's happening with the characters. I'm not sure, but definitely this one and oh goodness, what's the name of the Saint's Magical Powers Omnipotent? Is that it? Both of them have appealed to me to try to pick up the light novels. I've just enjoyed both of the series. I think they're really good. And there's a couple more too that I've read and enjoyed. So we'll see. In the meantime, I can say with all honesty that I would recommend this series. If you do enjoy relationship fiction and development, if you like shoujo and beautiful artwork, I would definitely recommend this. If you're not sure whether or not you do, maybe give it a try. I love the colors even in the artwork on the back. These are beautiful. They're well done volumes. They're through 7 Seas Entertainment, which is a little different. But yeah, would highly recommend this series. I'm just enjoying it. It is not anything that is too, meaty or too overly philosophical, but it's a nice, soft, light read with great relationships and great artwork. So I would, again, recommend this one, especially if you are looking for something light and soft that you want to read. That also does have a lot of good character development and relationships. So that is it for this video. Until next time, bye.